These are the top 10 power metal albums of 2025. This list was not that hard to compile. The thrash metal list was a lot harder, but with this one, I kind of had an idea what was going to be on the list. I have some veteran bands and I have some newer bands, maybe some bands you might not know. I will be doing these end of the year videos all throughout December. I have many more genre specific ones left to do, so let me get into it. And number 10 is Trick or Treat with Ghosted. They are an Italian power metal band that's been active since 2002. It's their 8th album. I was familiar with this band. I discovered them with their previous album, Creepy Symphonies, in 2022. I knew what I was getting into. It's one of those situations where I knew what I was going to get. It's some very upbeat power metal. It's very cheesy, but they're fun to listen to. The music is very melodic and upbeat. They keep this Halloween theme, and you hear lots of different creepy bells and stuff, and all these different power metal stuff, like the typical power metal sound. There are lots of guitar solos, and you can tell this band has a really high level of musicianship. I like the fact the songs are based in horror movies. So, for example, one song is called Evil Dead Never Sleeps, and another is called The 13th, and you can figure out what movies those are from. And I like the song Blood Moon featuring Adrienne Cohen from Seven Spires. This was some typical power metal with some fast-paced drums and lots of guitars and keyboards. Overall, very fun album. Probably should have been released closer to Halloween, because by the time Halloween came around this year, I had actually forgotten about this. But I gave it a listen in preparation for this video, and I thought it was pretty good. Coming in number 9 is Ancient Bards with Artifex. This is an Italian symphonic power metal band. I was familiar with them as someone recommended them when I was researching bands from Italy earlier this year for a series I was doing. I never got around to reviewing this album, but I gave it a listen again, and I decided it was worthy of making this list. The album has a big sound, complex arrangements, and lots of storytelling in the lyrics. There are also some soaring vocals from their lead vocalist, Sarah Squadrani, and there are also some guest vocalists. The album's very epic, songwriting is excellent, and the album features symphonic interludes and ballads, which might make the album long at times, but the overall quality is very high. And as for the guest vocalists, it has Mark Jansen from Epica and Francesco Cavalieri from Windrose. There's some awesome songs like Soulbound Symphony and Mi Prima Nox, and featuring big operatic vocals, and there are a few ballads like Unending and Sea of Solitude, and there's some spoken word tracks that tell a story like Luminance in the Abyss and the title track, and the album packs a lot into this 1 hour length, but I like the fact that listening to it makes you feel like you're going on this adventure, so for that reason it's at number 9. And number 8 is Elden King with Reader of the Runes, Luna, the third part in a trilogy, which was released in April 11, 2025. The band has a pretty unique style. They blend folk power metal and pagan metal. They can also be aggressive at times. Their influences range from bands like Blind Guardian, In Flames, and Cradle of Filth, so you can see their background is very diverse. There are some good songs like the opening track, Season of the Owl. This one was interesting. At first, it sounded like a typical power metal song. Then it got melodic, then much darker, and then there were some happier moments where they play these medieval-sounding folk metal melodies, and other parts of the song that sound more like heavy metal. So I enjoyed that first track. Most of the other songs were like this as well. Another one of my favorite was called Gone Epoch, which had a distinctive medieval-type melody, and my favorite part of the song was towards the second half, when they did this extended instrumental section where all the instruments are just playing these different melodies, and it just transports you to this different place while you listen to it. I enjoyed that part of the song the most, but overall it's a fun album. I liked it as much as I did when it was first released. It's not a typical power metal album. It goes in lots of different directions, but it's still very cohesive. For that reason, it made the list. And number 7 is Mob Rules with Rise of the Ruler. They are a German power metal band founded in 1994. This was like power metal, but with some Iron Maiden influence in a few of the songs. So I'll explain in a minute. One of the standout tracks was called Exiled. It sounded more like traditional heavy metal with power metal influences and not so chugging guitars and fast-paced drum beats. There was Future Loom with more of a power metal sound, reminding me of Halloween or some classic power metal of the 80s. It was fast, melodic, and had catchy hooks. There was also Dawn of a Second Sun. This one had an intro, sounded a lot like modern Iron Maiden with the clean guitars. The song was more of a laid-back ballad with heavier guitars in the second half. There was also Providence, which was another ballad with a soft melodic intro that builds up with some thunderous drums and develops into an 80s sounding heavy metal song with this Middle Eastern flair. Finally, there was some more Iron Maiden influence in the next song, On the Trail. Something along the lines of their album Book of Souls. It was another power ballad. Overall, some very good power metal from a band that I was expecting to sound like Black Sabbath from the name, but it's actually power metal and pretty good. Coming in number 6 is Sabaton with Legends. This is their 11th studio album. They decided to do something different. Instead of making another album about war, they're telling stories about various people from history. There are songs about Joan of Arc, Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan, Miyamoto Musashi, Julius Caesar, and Vlad the Impaler. Some key tracks include Lightning at the Gate, which opens with a thunderous riff, capturing the spirit of Hannibal crossing the Alps. It sounds like classic Sabaton, but tighter and heavier than expected. There's also Crossing the Rubicon. This one takes us back to the days of Julius Caesar, has one of the most memorable choruses on the album. The single version even featured Johnny Hawkins from Nothing More, which is one of the most surprising collaborations in Sabaton's career. There's also A Tiger Among Dragons, based on the Chinese general Lu Bu, mixes pounding percussion with subtle electronic elements. It's experimental, but works with the band's grand style. There's also The Duelist, about Japanese samurai Miyamoto Musashi. Shows a different side of Sabaton, less about pure warfare, more about philosophy and honor and all that stuff. But overall, really good, well-produced album. And it's just another epic Sabaton album. It keeps their sound. It's not their most heaviest album, but it's very anthemic. And for that reason, I like it a lot. Coming in number 6. And number 5 is Here Be Dragons by Avantasia, released on February 28th, 2025. It's their 10th album. If you didn't know, this is a German supergroup, or in other words, a metal opera project created by Tobias Sammet. He's the lead singer of Edguy and features different vocalists from different rock and metal bands. The album has catchy songs. So, for example, the song Creep Show has a very big and theatrical sounding track with Tobias Sammet on vocals. It has a very European power metal sound. It sounds like melodic hard rock. I also like the song The Witch with Tommy Kavarik from Camelot. I thought it was more of a melodic, keyboard-oriented AOR type of song. I like the fact that it has an almost darker and creepier sound, and they're introducing more of a dramatic scene to the story. But overall, the album is very cohesive and consistent. They didn't stray from their formula. They're giving you what you would expect from this band. There was a lot of variety on the album. Some songs sounded more like power metal. Others were more symphonic, and others were more like just traditional heavy metal or melodic hard rock. Overall, really good album. Coming in number 4 is Majestica with Powertrain. This album has received lots of positive reviews from critics. It's a high-energy, modern, symphonic power metal album. There are fast-paced songs, soaring vocals by Tommy Johansson, catchy, epic choruses, and the album can be a little repetitive or cheesy at times, but it doesn't really affect the overall listening experience. You hear a lot of influence from classic power metal bands like Halloween, Stratovarius, and Rhapsody. They blend nostalgic sounds with modern production, and the band has lots of technical skill. The production is very clear and well balanced. Lyrics include traditional power metal themes of fantasy, battles, and victory, and specific tracks pay tribute to classic movies like Dragonheart with the track My Epic Dragon, and Back to the Future with the track Go Higher. And there's some great tracks which include Powertrain, which is an upbeat, fun, and fast-paced anthem that immediately sets the tone for the album, featuring big guitar solos and a simple but very catchy chorus. There's also No Pain, No Gain, with an energetic, fast-paced chorus, catchy rhythm, driven by synths and a sound that can be compared to the style of the classic sound of Sonata Arctica. There was also Battle Cry, which is a fast, melodic, and sing-along pirate metal tune with a different, more aggressive feel, including gang vocals and an anthemic chorus, reminiscent of bands like Running Wild. Overall, really good power metal album. Coming in number 3 is Judicator with Concord. They are an American power metal band that's not afraid to get experimental. They maintain that classic power metal sound with strong influences from Blind Guardian and other classic power metal bands. The album's a little different. It's about the American West, has more of a hook-driven heavy metal sound. Some of the best comparisons would be the aforementioned Blind Guardian, as well as Iced Earth and Judas Priest. The album opens with Call Us Out of Slumber. First thing you hear are these cowboy guitar chords, and it sets the scene for the album. But the song progresses and goes into these melodic leads, and they play heavy metal riffs, and they pick up the pace with fast-paced power metal drumming, and all of that you would expect. I thought it was a good song. It opens the album, it sets the mood, and it lets you know it's going to be more of a power metal album. I also liked Johanna's song, which had more of a very big and epic sound. And there was a song, Weeping Willow, with a heavy sound, slower pace, and darker sound textures. And some softer songs like Hold Your Smile with acoustic guitars. And the last song, Blood Meridian, an 8-minute long song with heavy riffs, elements of progressive metal, and the song ends with like country square dancing. But overall, this is one of the best power metal bands out there. The previous album was more progressive. This one was a little more straightforward, but still very good. These next two bands were the ones that had the hardest time of deciding if they were going to be one or two. They could have flip-flopped, but they're classic bands. So, at number 2 is Halloween with Giants and Monsters. It's the classic power metal band. They don't need any introduction. They made a comeback in 2021 with their self-titled album. Return of the 3 vocalists, Andy Darris, Michael Kiske, and Kai Hansen. This one is just as good as the self-titled. When it first came out, I didn't like the first single called This Is Tokyo because it sounded very like AOR, but that song has grown on me since then, so I like it a lot. But the second single, Universe, it's this long and epic classic Halloween sounding song with lots of transitions and changes, and that's an awesome song. But the entire album is solid. Got great songs like A Little Too Much with this catchy chorus, Hand of God, which has a really great guitar work, and another catchy chorus that gets stuck in your head, and some softer stuff like Into the Sun, like a ballad. But overall, it's a really good Halloween album. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. I don't really need to. I've been listening to it a lot since its release, and for that reason I have it at number 2. It was almost number 1, but here is my number 1. My number 1 is Primal Fear with Domination, another German power metal band. They formed in 1997, released not too long ago. It's a great album. There's some standout songs like The Hunter that has an epic build-up going into some powerful guitar riffs, including arena rock-style hooks and lots of energy. There's Destroyer, which sounds more like 80s heavy metal, has some of the best guitar riffs on the album. A song called Far Away, leaning more into classic power metal as opposed to the first 2 songs, which were a little more traditional heavy metal. And a song called I Am the Primal Fear, one of the heaviest songs that has big guitar riffs and really catchy hooks. And then some other songs are more like melodic, like Tears of Fire, and then some classic heavy metal with The Dead Don't Die. So you got a lot of going on here. This is their best album out of the previous 3 that I listened to. Now, I haven't listened to all 15 of their albums. One day I'll do a ranking, but it's their best album in a long time. For that reason, it is number 1. That is all for this episode. I'll be putting all my best 2025 videos in a playlist. I'm going to stick that right there, and I will add them as I make them. So keep checking that playlist to see if there are more stuff. This is the second episode, so there are probably only 2 episodes over there. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any upcoming videos. My next one will be Melodic Death Metal and then Traditional Heavy Metal, which will probably be next week. but I still have more to come, and they're going to be released all throughout December. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.